There is such a fable. A god met a prince while traveling. He is young, handsome, talented, and wealthy. His wife is beautiful and gentle, and his children are smart and lovely. But the prince said sadly, "I seem to have everything, but I always feel that something is missing. I can't feel happiness. Can you give it to me?" God thought for a while and said, "Okay." So God took away the prince's talent, destroyed his appearance, took away his property, wife, and children, and left him with nothing. A month later, God came to the prince and saw that he was ragged and half-starved. The prince lay weakly on the ground and struggled. God handed everything back to the prince and left quietly. Half a month later, God saw the prince again. This time, the prince's face was always filled with a happy smile. Although this was a fable, it reflects the current situation of many people. Living in a complicated society, they always feel that something is missing, and they constantly look outside, but forget to look inward. But in fact, real happiness is in our hearts, not elsewhere. Only by finding our true heart and regaining inner peace can we gain lasting happiness. Hello, welcome to our daily reading club. Listen to a good book every day to upgrade your thinking. The Wisdom of Life, written by the German philosopher Schopenhauer. Schopenhauer, who was born in 1788, completed the main work representing his philosophical thoughts, The World as Will and Representation. Because the book was too abstract, many people didn't understand his views until the publication of his book, Appendices and Supplements, at the age of 63. This book became a great success and widely known. This book is an excerpt from Appendices and Supplements. So, what is Schopenhauer's view on happiness in life? Happiness is not found elsewhere, but in our lives. Have you ever experienced this? After browsing various social media, you sometimes feel a sense of emptiness and boredom. Why do many people in contemporary society easily get confused and directionless? Why can't those sensory pleasures dispel people's emotions? What about the sense of emptiness? What is the meaning of life? In the book, Schopenhauer analyzed in detail the three basic abilities of human beings. The first category is the pleasure brought by maintaining vitality, including eating, drinking, work, and rest, digestion, and sleep. The pleasure caused by human metabolism. As people often say, there is nothing more satisfying than eating a delicious meal. The second type of pleasure is the pleasure brought by physical activity, such as walking, running, dancing, fencing, horse riding, etc. Feng Tang wrote about his experience of running in Not Easily Blowed by the Wind in the Universe. When talking about the benefits of running, he said, "Running can make people stop thinking temporarily. The flash memory in the brain is cleared, and most of the entanglements are smoothed away. If you still can't let it go, run another 5 kilometers. The third basic ability is emotion, which is the pleasure brought by the ability to feel, such as the pleasure brought by observation, thinking, appreciating poetry, literature, music, or learning, meditation, reading, invention and creation, philosophical research, etc. Among these three types of happiness, the first two are physical and sensual pleasures, which animals also possess, or even far better than humans. Emotional pleasure is manifested as spiritual power, which belongs to human cognitive ability. It is a deeper intellectual pleasure and is the biggest feature that distinguishes humans from animals. It does not depend on the environment or material. It only exists in the human heart and is the biggest reason for human happiness. Schopenhauer believed that the two old enemies of human happiness are pain and boredom. He said, "Life is like a pendulum, swinging back and forth violently or mildly between pain and boredom. It is often lucky to escape the pit of pain. I fell into the vortex of boredom again." So how do you eliminate pain and boredom and gain the ability to be happy? The best way to obtain happiness is to focus on improving inner strength, learn to find peace within yourself, and always maintain a vibrant state of mind. Then there will be less and less room for pain and boredom. As Schopenhauer said, "The richer the spirit, the happier life." A person with a rich spiritual world can still live happily even if he is penniless. A depressed person, even if he has a fortune, cannot dispel the emptiness and boredom that follows him. Schopenhauer believes that all pursuits of happiness are fleeting and fleeting. The normal state of life is impermanence, and the key to happiness lies in the impermanence and boredom of life. Find your true heart and gain your own inner peace, leisure, and independence. Schopenhauer believes that happiness mainly depends on three factors. First, what a person is, that is, the person's personality, including health, strength, appearance, temperament, moral character, intelligence, education, etc. Second, what a person has, that is, property and possessions. Third, what a person is like in the eyes of others, that is, how others see him. Schopenhauer believes that what a person is plays a decisive role and can bring happiness more than what a person has and how others see him. How should we deal with the other two questions to gain inner peace? The opinions of others are actually not that important. In daily life, dealing with others is an inevitable thing. Living in the eyes of others, some people will pay special attention to how they appear to others. When they are despised and neglected by others, some people will feel that their self-esteem is frustrated by what the other person said unintentionally. You may ponder it in your mind for a long time and perform a vigorous inner drama. The book tells the story of a death row prisoner. One is Thomas, an apprentice who murdered his master out of revenge. In prison, Thomas showed no intention of repenting or reflecting on his crime, but he was particularly concerned about what others thought of him. What was even more ridiculous was that before he died, he was still anxious about how to act brave in front of the onlookers. In order to appear brave, Thomas did not let anyone help him. He walked up to the guillotine and kept bowing to the spectators, which attracted thunderous cheers from the audience. He did not care about the salvation of his soul, but only cared about what kind of impression he would leave on the spectators and what others would say about him after his death. Schopenhauer analyzed that although the case is somewhat extreme, it vividly demonstrates the greatest weakness in human nature. Many people's anxiety, sorrow, trouble, confusion, uneasiness, and worry are largely due to caring too much about others' views. Excessive attention and interpretation of other people's casual words and actions. Focusing on trivial things will easily lead to development of a glassy heart and make people suffer from the view of others. Our happiness comes from being able to deal properly with others' perceptions of you. To do this, we must first clearly understand that others are external to ourselves, and everyone can only understand others based on their own thoughts and intelligence. When your personality, temperament, or knowledge and experience are not at the same level as others, many misunderstandings will arise. Others' perceptions of you often deviate from the truth. Therefore, if you are criticized and slandered by others, the wise choice is to maintain a certain degree of tolerance and to have an objective belief in your own value and strengths. Only in this way can we protect ourselves from excessive mental distress. If you still feel that you can't overcome your excessive concern with other people's opinions, then Schopenhauer has a very sharp saying that may help you. He believes that most people are actually mediocre people and have no true knowledge or opinions. Therefore, their opinions are not worthy of attention at all. So, from now on, change our easily injured and sensitive self-esteem. No longer smug when you are praised, no longer sullen when you are despised. Try to reduce our sensitivity to other people's opinions as much as possible and return to the foundation of our happiness, which is the health and comfort of the body and the richness and breadth of the inner spirit. Socialization and solitude. Like many philosophers, Schopenhauer lived a solitary life. He never married or had children. Let's first take a look at how this philosopher spent his day. After getting up every morning and taking a cold shower, he began to immerse himself in writing until noon. Then he plays the flute for half an hour and then goes to a restaurant called the British Hotel for lunch. After the meal, he goes home and reads until 4 o'clock. Next, he takes his poodle for a walk and goes to the library to read at 6 o'clock. In the evening, Schopenhauer would go to the theater to watch a play or listen to music. After the show, he will still have dinner at the British restaurant and go home after the meal. Before going to bed, he will read a few more pages of the Vedas, the ancient Indian scriptures. Thus the philosopher's day ended. Does Schopenhauer's day-to-day life sound a bit boring and monotonous? That is just an outsider's view of him, because he has long cultivated a stable mind. Social interaction plays an important role in everyone's life. People engage in a variety of social activities from morning to night, day after day. This is understandable. After all, no one is an island, and everyone is in an interactive relationship with the outside world and others. Then you may be curious. According to Schopenhauer's saying of either lonely or vulgar, it is vulgar to go out with friends to eat and chat after get off work or get out of class, and it is still vulgar to play cards and go shopping. Then aren't all the people in this world full of vulgar people? Who can escape vulgarity? But have you ever noticed that socializing does bring people short-term happiness and joy, and a sense of belonging at a specific moment? But why, after all kinds of socializing, what people discover is more of what is hidden deep in their hearts? What about loneliness, fatigue, and boredom with crowds? If Schopenhauer lived in modern times, he would probably be considered a social phobia patient. But he had his own good reasons for doing so. According to Schopenhauer, most social interactions are unfree. For example, some people panic when the phone rings and would rather send a text message than answer the phone. When getting along with others, we inevitably need to sacrifice some of our unique personalities to blend into the conversational environment. These conversations are often mediocre and monotonous, and they gain nothing in terms of ideas and insights. Despite this, most people will continue to seek social interaction and entertainment. This is because the feeling of boredom caused by a lack of social interaction seems more terrifying. Schopenhauer explained this boredom as an inner emptiness. It is precisely because individuals do not have enough connotation to separate themselves from others and activate their own spirits that they tirelessly seek stimulation from the outside world. He pointed out keenly, those who are keen on social activities often lack rich connotations and deep thoughts. It is worth noting that Schopenhauer's purpose is not to criticize social behavior, but to remind us to avoid inferior social activities and avoid excessive pursuit of cheap, easy-to-obtain short-term happiness. Those who like to be alone in life do not deliberately avoid social interaction, but they themselves have spiritual and ideological fun. Therefore, truly meaningful solitude is not the boredom and pain after entertainment, but to reduce the need for external social interaction, to expand one's inner freedom, to pursue the value of spirit and thought, and to obtain a complete and true peace of mind. Appropriate moderation of social activities, returning to one's own existence, and becoming oneself is the correct way to obtain happiness. In this way, in order to prevent solitude from becoming boring and let leisure time play its due role, this is another problem we have to face. Let's take a look at what Schopenhauer said about this issue. Live in the present in your free time. Some people may have experienced this. Compared to spending time on work, study, and entertainment, staying alone for a whole day is actually a more painful thing. People look forward to having a long period of leisure time and no longer have to worry about overtime or schoolwork. But once you have free time, you may find within a few days that you need to fight the boredom that comes with it. When you lose the stimulation of external activities and are unable to enjoy yourself, you may fall into confusion and emptiness. You may also have the ultimate question deep in your soul. What is the goal and meaning of life? Schopenhauer pointed out that although leisure is important, it is not the purpose. If a person just works hard in his free time, he will get nothing but blank boredom and ease. Leisure should be used as a means to promote happiness, not as something to be deliberately pursued. So how should leisure play its truly meaningful role? Schopenhauer provides us with some practical advice. The first is to grasp the present and live in the present. If you're always thinking about future plans, you will inevitably feel worried and anxious about waiting for the future. Likewise, when you look back too much on the past, you become immersed in memories and cannot extricate yourself. So Schopenhauer reminds us, only now is the only real and real thing. If you want to enjoy your leisure time and gain spiritual peace in your leisure time, you must remember to cherish the present. In this regard, Schopenhauer suggested that everyone should learn to be indifferent and indifferent to a certain extent. Don't have too much expectations and attention from the outside world, and don't be eager to tell others what you think. In this way, we will enter a state of being in the world but in a worldly state, which will help us avoid many unnecessary troubles when we are alone. Schopenhauer also specially reminded us to pay attention to the fragility of the body and put health first. Focus. Health comes first. Speaking of health, many people may have had this experience. Only when they are suffering from illness do they realize how precious and important health is. Life can only be experienced, not possessed. Everyone has nothing to take away with them at the end of their lives. The rich experiences in life all depend on a healthy body. Schopenhauer said, 9 times out of 10, happiness depends on health. Without health, nothing is pleasant anymore, and even the whole life will be eclipsed. The most stupid thing a person can do is to sacrifice one's health to pursue interests, promotions, fame, and other external things. It is even foolish to waste one's health for fleeting sensual happiness. How to deal with wealth and status. According to Maslow's needs theory, people not only have natural physiological needs, but also have needs for safety, social interaction, self-realization, respect, etc. Among these needs, wealth and status are what human beings have been striving for since ancient times. We often hear people jokingly say, not having money is a worry, but having money is a worry. Being too poor is certainly a sad thing, but when a person has money, it is not without worries. This is first of all because wealth has a magical power. The more you pursue it, and the more you have it, the more you desire it. Such obsession is not always a pleasant thing, and sometimes it makes people feel very painful. So, what role does wealth play in achieving happiness in life? Generally speaking, when people have money, they obtain happiness and excitement through consumption behavior. However, according to Schopenhauer, who was born in a prominent businessman family, the real role of wealth is to build a fortress for oneself to eliminate misfortunes and disasters, rather than for enjoyment and squandering. Do you think this standard is quite low? Obviously, money is power, and it is something that can positively affirm happiness. Why is it only used to protect against disasters? Besides, who knows when misfortune will come? It's better to enjoy yourself now. Don't rush to deny it. Schopenhauer has his own reasons for saying this. If you look at Schopenhauer's more pessimistic but seemingly realistic perspective, the world is full of deprivation and pain, and you will be struck by a cruel fate if you are not careful. All phenomena in the universe are in a relationship of mutual existence and death. There is no permanent existence in them. Therefore, the nature of any phenomenon is impermanent and appears to arise and disappear in an instant. This is the meaning of impermanence of nature and the meaning of annihilation in an instant mentioned in the 11 Principles of Buddhism. Natural disasters, man-made disasters, birth, old age, illness, and death are all unbearable impermanence and misfortunes in life. Having a certain amount of wealth can help people avoid scarcity and labor as much as possible, maintain a stable and safe life, and focus on improving self-cultivation and inner wealth. But if this wealth is spent carelessly, for fun and debauchery, people will easily end up in poverty and of course it will be difficult to have a stable heart. From this point of view, Schopenhauer is actually thinking about the stability and long-term development of each of us. It is not difficult to understand that in Schopenhauer's view, we should treat wealth in a more conservative and cautious way and get used to planning and protecting our property reasonably. Next, we look at the issue of gaining status. After a person has money and thereby escapes poverty, pursuing status may become another goal for him. But in reality, not everyone can have a status recognized by the public, otherwise the status will lose its uniqueness. If we only consider the process of pursuing status, we will also find that if a person wants to gain something, he must first lose something. To pursue status, people must learn to lower themselves first, and even learn to be worldly and diligent, so as to have a greater chance of being promoted. As the saying goes, if you want to wear a crown, you must bear its weight. The responsibilities brought by status are also a major burden in life. As Schopenhauer said, measuring a person's happiness only by what he has, without taking into account what he wants to get, is like calculating a fraction with only a numerator but no denominator. It is invalid. How to deal with aging. From youth to aging, this is an inevitable life process for everyone. So, how should we face our youth and aging in the future? There are different stages of life from youth to aging. Each is wonderful. We can compare the lives of young people with the lives of older people. Young people tend to be more enthusiastic and creative, while older people are relatively slow and conservative. One of the joys of life is to look forward to a better future. Older people like to recall the past more, and death is getting closer to them. Some people may conclude that youth is really a good thing. It seems to be going downhill, and the older you get, the more miserable you become. But in Schopenhauer's view, young people love this colorful world and are full of desire and yearning for everything. This is a period of knowledge gestation and accumulation. Compared with young people, the elderly are more calm and down to earth. This is because when people reach old age, the pursuit of short-term pleasure and fun is no longer the primary goal in life. Even in a dazzling and prosperous place, a wise old man can see the emptiness and meaninglessness behind it and return to the simplicity and authenticity of life. At this time, people's thoughts and inner feelings about the world are different. Instead of intuition, people's judgment becomes more acute. They no longer just believe in their own intuitive impressions, but rely on more comprehensive and in-depth wisdom to grasp the overall situation. The time of life is vividly compared to a rotating disc. The farther away from the center point, the faster the rotation. The time of the elderly seems to flow faster, so they tend to be more patient and more patient. There is a peaceful state of mind. After hearing this, do you still think that life is a downhill journey? Schopenhauer said, "It is either vulgar or lonely." He was never married and only had a poodle to accompany him. Now, he is a lonely and old man. But Schopenhauer's heart is peaceful, because happiness is not elsewhere, but in Schopenhauer's heart. Well, that's it for this book. If you like our video, feel free to like, subscribe, and forward it to your friends. You're also welcome to share your thoughts in the comments section. See you next time.